Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders, crowds coming out for both, and the crowds are getting bigger. So now we've got the big debate. Which party has the right message for America? Hi, everybody. I'm Liz McDonald in for Eric Bolling, and I get to play with the Cashin' In gang, our Cashin' In crew this week. Wayne Rogers, Jonathan Hoenig, Michelle Fields, and Jessica Tarlov. Welcome and good morning, everybody. So we've got the Donald. He's touting himself as a pro-capitalist who likes smaller government. Now, on the flip side, Bernie Sanders is a self-proclaimed socialist. He's pushing things like free universal health care, free college for all. Both of these guys are gaining in the polls. So, Michelle, which message is the best for America?
Well, look, they're both very popular. Trump is obviously leading in the polls with Republicans, but you see Bernie Sanders, he's jumped 20 points in the past month. But whose message is better for America? Of course, Trump's message is better for America. If you look at the economies of European democracies, that is the vision that Bernie Sanders has for America. He wants socialism, but that's not what America needs. It needs free markets. It needs lower taxes. And Bernie Sanders is essentially President Obama on steroids. If you think that the economy was bad under Barack Obama, it's going to be much, much worse under Bernie Sanders.
Right. You know, that's right.
Michelle, it's not even that that's what America needs. That's what America is about. You know, Americans are the ones who invented the phrase "to make money," and it's capitalism is the uniquely American system. It's a system of private property, of individual rights. I mean, in America, you own your life, not the state, not the public, not the greater good or some racial group.
But Wayne,
socialism is just the opposite.
Right, but you know, to Michelle's point, Wayne, you know, Europe is growing like economic growth is about as fast as crabgrass is growing. And you know what we see now, though, Wayne, what do you make of this? Bernie Sanders, though, is gaining in the polls, and he's really pulling out the crowds.
Well, I think people will always want a free lunch. I mean, Bernie Sanders is offering everybody a free lunch, and greedy people are going to want a free lunch. You know, as I said earlier on the show some time ago, in 1837, de Tocqueville, writing about America, says when the representatives of the people discover that they can bribe the people with their own money, it'll be the end of the republic. And that's exactly what Bernie Sanders is promising.
Yes. And, you know, here's the thing, Jessica. You know, we've seen this experiment play out with big government in Detroit, in Chicago. And look what happened in Baltimore. Wow, they really raised taxes starting in the 60s in Baltimore, chased out the middle class, and there's economic collapse around in that area.
There's no doubt that there are a lot of failed Democrat policies that we could talk about, especially, you know, vis-a-vis Baltimore and similar big urban metropoles across the country. But what I would say is, you know, we're talking about socialism versus capitalism. First of all, Bernie Sanders, he calls himself a Democrat capitalist, and he's also not in front here. Hillary is still 18 points up, and Hillary is very different from Bernie Sanders. You know, I like to think of her as she's a compassionate capitalist. She understands that the free market should work and it should benefit people, but that we need a strong safety net.
Name.
Wait, hang on, Michelle. Hang on. Let me take it to Michelle. I mean, but you know, Hillary every other week, Michelle, seems to be rolling out free government giveaways too. And I think again, we've been down this road before. The government doing all of this. And by the way, even Democrat Moynihan, Daniel Patrick Moynihan, said you cannot mandate goodness from Washington D.C. You cannot mandate economic growth from Washington D.C. Is Hillary Clinton that different from Bernie Sanders?
I don't think so. I mean, they both want to increase the entitlement state. They want to create sort of an England-type economy here in America. You look at the European Union. They have almost a 10% unemployment rate. Those policies aren't working yet. Democrats constantly point to Europe as something that we should be modeled after, and it's ridiculous. We need to lower the regulatory.
I'm sorry. What about
Jessica.
the point that over 90% of Americans think that income inequality is a tremendously important issue, or that 60% believe that the government should play some role in?
And I think that's why Bernie is doing well.
Yes.
That's why he's burning well, because he's not just providing free lunch, as Wayne said. He's providing free lunch, free health care, a completely free life.
Wait, hang on a second. All right, wait. I want to take it to Jonathan. Jonathan, stay with me. Guess whose the platform for the party was this, going back to 1960? Lower taxes will bring in more federal revenues, will help out the economy, will help out jobs. Smaller government is good for the economy. We want to be about the entrepreneur to create jobs. That was a Democratic platform starting under JFK, going through 2004. The Democrats seem to be in an identity crisis starting in 2008, Jonathan.
Well, Elizabeth, it's not so much that the socialism is bad for the economy. It's bad for the individual. I mean, it's not compassionate. It's not good, or it's not nice. I mean, it says basically that you don't own your life, that you have to sacrifice yourself for, the environment or the public good or anything else. So there's this misconception that capitalism is mean and socialism is this benevolent, a wonderful thing. It's not. In fact, it's just the opposite.
Wayne, human beings, let me back up. Some of the voters on the left think that the government can fix everything, that there's something magical about the government stepping in. They forget that the government is made of human beings, too, who makes mistakes. And now we want Trump, he wants to get the government out of things like education, but Bernie Sanders, he wants free college for all. Can we really afford that?
No, of course not. You can't afford that. We can't even afford what we're doing today. I mean, you see what student debt is. You see what colleges are charging. You can't even afford that. And you come back to JFK, you will remember in his inaugural speech, he said, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Yeah, that's right. And Jessica, now it's like ask what your government can do for you all the time. By the way, the day JFK was assassinated, Jessica, he was going to give a speech about cutting taxes.
Yeah, I understand things. They definitely have changed, and I'm not saying that it's a perfect world. But what I'm encouraging people to do is to not be fooled by the simplicity of Republican tax plans that doesn't make them fair. Donald Trump and what he laid out, I believe it was in his book in 2011. We haven't heard from him since about this. Is a 15% tax rate on people who earn $1 million and over. There is a wide range of incomes coming in and over $1 million.
Hang on, it would still stay progressive, Jonathan, under what Jessica's talking about.
Yes,
flat tax.
It would.
Hang on, but Steve Forbes is talking about an earned income tax credit under his flat tax plan that would be progressive. We don't know if Trump would agree to that.
Maybe he'll decide to get around to it.
Trump is talking to Steve Forbes about it. Go ahead, Jonathan.
It just starts with that idea that your money is yours, that you earned it, that it's not government's to just pass out in what it thinks is the most efficient way. And that's why I disagree when you talk about the financial impacts of a big government. Yeah, that leads to economic distress. But it's really the moral idea. You own your life, you own your wages, and that's what these candidates should be fighting.
Michelle, you're a student of political history. Are the Democrats in some kind of identity crisis? Have they forgotten that they were once the party of little government?
I think so, but I think that they realize that telling everyone that they'll give them a free lunch and free health care is the fastest way to get votes. But it doesn't work. The reason why higher education is so expensive is because government's involvement in higher education. Well, the reason why we don't have jobs is because entrepreneurs, business owners, they're basically being, completely strangled by the regulatory burden that they have by high taxes, that they can't hire new people, they can't create more business and expand their businesses.
Wayne, I'm going to get to Jessica in a second. We've got only a little time left. Wayne, missing in the free college education debate is how these left-wing academics have raised college tuition for hitting middle-class families really hard. What do you think?
Well, that's true. That's what I said. We can't pay for it as it is. The educational system, the higher educational system, is out of control. And you mentioned earlier about and what Jonathan is talking about, the arrogance that the government knows better than you how to distribute your money.
They own you.
That's what's way out of line.
What socialism is.
Okay, we got to leave it there.
All of you are not against having some sort of social safety net. And to Wayne's point, I agree that the costs are out of control, and I'd like to hear both parties talking more about vocational training. Not everyone needs four-year college. That's something I can find common ground there.
Yeah, we came to common ground here. This is fun with the Cash-In gang.